And we are back. Yes, the No BS Golf Show. Your boy Brad Thomas here with Chris Money Mills, baby. We're talking about the Pebble Beach Pro-AM this week. And we're coming off, yes, we weren't here last week. I do admit, but we are still coming off some winners, cash and checks in our respective discords. Last week, my man Chris over here with the ballin' ticket on Mr. Harris English. Go ahead and talk about the Farmers Insurance Open, my friend.
You know what? It was weird because I had been following Harris at the Century, and I didn't really know what to think of it. And then, or sorry, at the Sony,
Yeah.
and he's kind of hit or miss, right? Like he's the type of guy that he'll throw in a couple good rounds, and then he's just invisible. But I actually picked him against him in a matchup, and I was watching his shot tracker on that Sunday, and I was like, you know what, this guy is his proximity is good. He's hitting good shots. And then it was the highest number that I'd ever seen for him at plus, 10,000, 100 to 1. And I threw him on my list. And last week, if you remember, 156 players. It was a massive field. And I had given out Zalatoris as one of my 7 picks, and he didn't show up. So obviously those were voided. But 6 players out of 156. And yeah, we smacked on Harris English 100 to 1. So community is feeling pretty good. But we also skipped last week. And I have to give you kudos because the week that we skipped and we didn't have a show last week, you hit Sepp Straka.
Dude, listen, I could not believe I don't bet Sepp Straka often, right? And he's like very rarely on my card.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm like, this is literally how I picked Amex. And I said this in Discord where I was like, I hate this tournament because there's so many guys that can win, and you can think of so many different pathways to victory. But the pathway I want to take is I want to take guys who hit freaking fairways, make birdies, and can get hot with the putter, coming in with good recent form. Dude was playing fantastic the week before and kind of had that bad Saturday. Outside of that, the dude was in the contention the whole time. He fits the model exactly perfect. You know, it's funny. And I know we talked about it, but like that was not a good modeling tournament. You can't model that tournament. I went back to look to see. I didn't even look at my model to pick my winners, but I went back to look to see where he we fell. He was like 65th on the model.
Yeah.
I was like, felt really nice to get that because this season's been weird. Yeah, I hit Decky live. Like, that's cool. If you want to count the hero, but like that just felt easy, right? Like it felt easy picking the best golfer in the world in a limited field at a good 3-to-1 price. Like his price against 25, 30 golfers was almost the same as it is now. Like that was a no-brainer against 80. Yeah. So this was like a 60-to-1 price on Straka felt really, really nice.
Yeah, I have mixed emotions on that guy. I've hit him in the past, like when he went crazy at the John Deere and won. I think it was the John Deere a few years ago.
Yep.
But I had him big. We had him for a lot in the community at the Century.
Okay.
On that Friday, he was looking really, really nice. I think he won like 6 or 7 birdies in a row. Of course, right? You don't have him. So then I'm going to fade him those other weeks just because I'm jaded on the guy. But no, he's one of those guys that likes to go low. He's a birdie machine. If the putts are dropping, he's a great pick. I mean, I don't want to toot our own horn, but we're 4 for 4 to start this season.
Dude,
I picked Decky. I picked Matsuyama pre-tournament.
Yeah.
Week 1. Week 2, again, we got Nick Taylor live. It wasn't pre-tournament, but we got him live.
Hell yeah.
You got Sepp Straka last week, and then we got Harry English. 2 weeks ago, and then we got Harry English last week. So that's 4 for 4 between the two of us on our Discords. I mean, that's pretty good.
That's really good, dude. This has been a great start to the season. I want to say something about Harris English too. I'm glad you cashed on him because when I was putting in my live bets, I look at Harris English and I was like, dude's 80-to-1, bro. I was like, he's making a charge at 80-to-1. You should bet him. And I was like, telling myself, this dude's not going to win, bro. This dude's not going to win. I didn't have the guts to do it. He was 81 while making a charge, right? Like that should have been a no-brainer, but congratulations on that. Let's move to the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Just a little housekeeping. If you are watching this on YouTube, go ahead and smash the like button. Go ahead and subscribe. Drop in a comment on who you think is going to win the golf tournament. And then if you're listening in podcast form, make sure you download, rate, and subscribe. So Pebble Beach, Signature event now means they are not going to be playing Monterey Peninsula. It's going to be Pebble Beach, Spyglass Hill, Friday, Saturday,
Yep.
alternating, excuse me, Thursday, Friday, and then play the last two on Pebble. Just going to go through the golf course stats here. Short course, 6,900 yards, can stretch out close to 7,000. Par 72, POA greens. It's POA greens, and even the fairways, roughs, tees, and collars are rye, but they're overseed POA. So basically POA all over the place.
Yeah.
It does have one water hazard, one of the biggest water hazards in the world with the Pacific Ocean. A ton of bunkers, 116 out there, and baby greens, 3,500 square feet. If you remember the last event we covered, there were 5,000 square feet on average green size there. Dude, when I look at this tournament, I think, I have built 3 models for this one. I do what's called big balls model, guys who can overpower the course.
Yeah.
But generally, you think about all of the winners here, they don't really overpower the course. And there's a reason why guys like Tom Hoagie can win this event
Yep.
because, when Tom Hoagie, guy who's probably going to struggle to get it out there, the 285 consistently, he can hit driver because he's so accurate. When you
Yeah.
have a guy like, let's go JT, for example, JT is going to be laying up more times than not. So I kind of just want guys who, really good on approach, good around the greens, and they can putt from that 10 to 15 yard range. And anything that, that kind of stands out about this course that you want to talk about, we could talk about weather or anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of courses every year where everybody's at, no one has an advantage, I would say.
Yep.
Right? You have these shorter hitters, in the traditional, like the or the Duncans of the world, or even the Nick Taylors. He's a little bit longer now, but the Tim Clarks from way back in the day, right? The South African. I mean, these were the type
Yeah.
of guys that they showed up 3 or 4 tournaments a year, because they were accurate off the tee, or they were, like you said, they could hit driver 280, 285 and accurately, versus a guy who has to take a long iron and has a longer iron in on approach. Because the greens are smaller, right? Holding the greens are typically harder, right?
Yep.
Your proximity to the hole, you're basically hitting the green or you're not, right? The average tour player is about 40% within 10 feet if you're hitting it with it, from 150 yards out. So looking for those guys that can get the ball in the fairway, but actually get the ball out there a little bit. But again, the bigger the hitter, the more, fairways you're missing typically.
Yep.
So I really like that. But then you also have to look at the win players, because it's looking like Friday is going to be nasty.
Dude.
So you're going to have find guys that can scramble, that can find fairways, that, are the top win players. So in my picks that we're going to be giving out, there's going to be a lot of consistencies. It's going to be fairway finders, green and regulation, scramblers, but then also win players, because you're going to have that really tough day, similar to last week, where you just need to hold on, get through that round. Anybody under par is going to, shoot up that board. Find which player is essentially playing on Spyglass on the right day, right? Because that's traditionally the harder of the 2 courses. And then you can also take advantage of when the wind's not blowing. So I just think that, the guys that are going to be through the bag, strokes gained, and then finding those greens, making those putts, they're going to be there on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when you talk about the weather. So I'm going to have James bring this up. Basically, the weather is weird, right? Like it's going to be the 6 to 12 mile per hour winds.
Yeah.
You got to watch out for the wind gusts. But then Friday, the rain is absolutely going to be the factor, 15 and 20%
Mm-hmm.
respectively as we carry through the weekend. I did see a note here, and I know I sent this over to you, but it could be a Pebble Thursday, Spyglass Friday advantage there based on the weather there, just due to a little bit more protection
Yep.
coming from Spyglass. You play that course, you want to be protected by those trees as opposed to being exposed to the coast and exposed to the windy conditions
Exactly.
there. Um, you know, this course is interesting. It's also interesting too because Scotty Scheffler's in the field, right? First
Yeah.
event since the Christmas fiasco,
Yeah.
and he's 4-1, right, to win an event with 80 fields, the signature event killer. As we go and we look at the board and we kind of find our what do we say, our guys that we're going to bet on, I feel like the best value in this tournament has been in that 60 to 1 range and up. Like you think about some guys who, have some big wins under their belts, like a Sepp Straka, Tony Finau. But you even think about guys like Shane Lowry plays great in the win. Jordan Spieth played well here. Thigala at 70. The list goes on guys as you go down the board, as opposed to, and like, this is no disrespect, but playing a Ludwig Oberg who couldn't get the job done, got sick at 18, or even if you have like a Sammy Burns at 35,
Yeah.
I feel like you just want to creep lower and lower down the board. That said,
Yeah.
let's get into our bets. I'll start with you, and you can take it any way you want with your first outright.
Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned it, right? This week, we're going from 156 players last week, full field, down to 80. There's 80 guys teeing it up. And the reason that there's so much value on those mid-range guys is because, these are the best players on the PGA Tour all playing in one tournament, right? You have Scotty, you have Rory, you have Morikawa, you have Cantlay. The only person out there is Xander for obvious reasons, hurt his rib. And then those are the biggest names in the game. So because there's so many of those big names, those guys that, if they're not playing, you're looking at a Thigala, you're looking at, the Brent Burns, they're at plus 1400, plus 1800. As soon as you throw these other guys in the mix, it's their first tournament of the year. All of a sudden they're 4X. You know what? That's what we're looking for. We're trying to stiff out that value. So you'll notice again some consistencies with my picks. But what I want to do is I want to throw this out to the people.
Okay.
And I want everybody to just sprinkle a little bit on it, right? In our Discord, we like to use the word sprinkle. And again, we'll get to know that term on this show. But there's one player in particular who's been known to be a short ball hitter. He hits a ton of fairways, and he's traditionally been a very good putter. A couple of years ago, he had an insane year. He fought back from just having no career whatsoever, won back-to-back weeks, and it changed his game. And he's still in the signature events because he gets there. He does enough. It's Brendan Todd. Depending on your book, you can get him at 500 to 1. And James will throw this graphic up for you. On some, he's even 600 to 1. You throw $25 on him, that's 15 G's. Okay. Is he going to win every week? Absolutely not. Is there an opportunity for him to win this week? Absolutely. There's 80 players in the field, and he's 500 to 1. He's double or triple the odds of the next highest guy. He is absolutely worth it. He'll hit some fairways. He likes to start decent on Thursdays. I would take a chance on him.
Yeah, I think he has the highest odds on the entire field. But I am a big believer in when you play these like massive odds guys, if you could get him like $10, right, pays you five, 6 grand.
Yeah.
If you can get him in that final group on Sunday, not only are you going to have some entertainment that you just paid $10 on, chance to win a lot of money, but you might find yourself in a live hedge opportunity or a good cash out, which is always worth it. I'll give my long shot since we're in the long shot category here. And mine's Mr. Eric Cole. And listen, I actually found him at 130 to 1. I thought that was a really good price. And as I kept going and kept looking, I found 151 on Mr. Eric Cole. And dude's not going to win the tournament, right? We'll just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
I don't know what he has in his body, but there's something wrong with him in terms of winning golf tournaments.
Yep.
He's Mr. Thursday through Saturday.
Yep.
And then when push comes to shove, he just can't get over that hump. But he has good course history here, right? Top 14 last year, and 2 years ago, top 15. When I think about Eric Cole and his makeup and the courses that he's done well on, these courses that require you hitting fairways. They're shorter. He's like, he's not super long off the tee and not super accurate, right? And I think his issue when you get to longer courses is you got to pick your struggle, right? Like you either got to be the bomber who bombs it through the trouble and past the trouble, or you got to be the guy who's just hitting every fairway, regardless. Even if you have a long iron in your hand every single time, he doesn't do either particularly well. But when he comes to a course like Pebble, he can do that, right? Because he doesn't need to stretch out for the extra distance. That's where the inaccuracies come from, where he's trying to stretch out for that extra distance.
Yeah.
Getting a price on him like that, I thought was something I had to take. He fits that makeup too of a guy who can, just hit greens and get hot with the putter. when I
Yeah.
was like looking at my model, he didn't model out particularly well, which I was okay with. Like I said, like when you're looking for guys with a ton of value, they're not always going to model out very well. He finished, I think it was 38th, but there's a couple places where Mr. Eric Cole is phenomenal, and why he's good at courses like the Bear Trap. Number one, that proximity. We'll go with why he's good at Bear Trap first. The bunker, sand saves, 11th in sand saves, 5th in scrambling,
Mhm.
28th around the green. When you play these Florida courses, that's where he's really like bread and butter. You're gonna miss those greens, those hard, rocky
Yeah.
greens. They're big. Your ball's not gonna hold well in there. Eric Cole does that well, as getting up and down and scrambling well. To throw in a note to kind of support Mr. Eric Cole here, there was a note from the superintendent that I thought was pretty important. The weather over there has been really sunny in the afternoons with not any rain. He said the course is playing really firm and really
Mm.
fast. I think that kind of helps Eric Cole, just because he's used to playing firm and fast courses, at least having success there. And at
Yeah.
this price, it's something that it's not crazy, right? Like you throw $20 on there and you win almost 2 Gs. So I took Eric Cole at 130 to 1, 150 to 1, excuse me.
Yeah. And listen, I'm surprised because I thought we made a pact that we would not be betting on this fool anymore. He's lost me enough money.
I like pain, dude. I like pain.
But it's funny because he's that guy where it's like, he'll start fast on Thursday. We've seen it. And he'll be
Yep.
-2 through 2, and his odds will go from 150 to 1 down to 50 in 2 seconds.
Yep.
For a guy who never wins, he just gets crazy respect and his odds drop fast.
Yeah.
No, I will not bet him. I understand why you are, but I won't because he's broken my heart too many times already this year. But also, too, he just misses so many short putts, dude.
So many.
And it's just
Wait,
like 2
dude,
feet,
you know
11
what's
inches he's
funny?
missing, like under 3 feet multiple times around, and he's putting on POA, which is traditionally a little more bouncy. I couldn't do it. Can't do it.
You know what's funny about Eric Cole? You say that Eric Cole's like top 10 from putting from 10 to 15, and then it drops like
Yeah,
to the
drastically.
hundredths.
Yeah,
Well, it's not gonna be hundredths in this field. It'll be like 70th, but 70th range when he putting from 3 to 5 feet.
yeah. You know what? Jordan Spieth was like that. Remember his crazy year following the
Yeah.
next year? His putting stats from like 15 to 22 feet, he was number one.
Yeah.
And then I think he was like 114th, 120th in, within 3 or 4 feet because he would just, look at the hole, not look at the hole, lip here, pull here. But yeah, listen, I agree. I understand. I like the guy. I think he will win eventually. I think it's going to be in a smaller type field when there's
Yeah.
nobody there. He'll just, be way ahead and
It'll be
just
like
barely hold
JDC,
on.
right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a substantial difference when you're playing a signature event with these good golfers than when you're playing in like the JDC. Is
Yeah.
like you can get that lead in kind of wire to wire, or just
Yeah.
be in contention and kind of take over at the
Yeah.
JDC, because that's the problem with a lot of the golfers who aren't the Scotty Schefflers, the Rory McIlroys, is they don't have that hunter mentality, right?
Yeah.
To them, it's hanging on because it's just so different, right? To Rory, to Scotty, to Cantlay, to JT, they're safe, right? Like
Yeah.
they're not losing their tour card, so they don't have to stress. They go out there and they fire off a 74 trying to chase someone down on a Sunday. It's fine. To
Yeah.
them, it's okay, right? But those points matter to some of the other guys, and that's why
For
those
sure.
JDC finishes have like those guys like the Steven Yeagers who end up winning them.
Yeah, exactly. And it was kind of similar last week. There was nobody at the top of the board that felt like they wanted
Huh.
to win. It was, oh, this guy's going to go on a run and miss from 4 feet, or he's supposed to birdie this hole and he ends up going over the green and making bogey.
Yep.
Harris English just made, what did he make? Like 11 consecutive pars to win.
Yep.
To finish it is what it is. Listen, let me give you who I like kind of mid range.
Yes.
And I think the only word that I can say is the disrespect that this man is receiving. Okay. He won 2 weeks ago. He's a former winner, right? And he has what, 3 or 4 wins in the last 3 years, who we've talked
Yep.
about already, who's very accurate, whose proximity is fantastic, and he's been rolling that rock. I'm going with Nick Taylor again, right? If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Like you can get him at some books at 75 to 1, right? Plus 7,500, even plus 8,000. Like this is a guy who is arguably playing way better golf than half the people on that list,
Yep.
and he's double the odds. I mean, I'm taking him.
dude, and he's on that freaking revenge tour, right? Missing out on
For
the
sure.
President's Cup there.
He's pissed.
He's pissed, right? He's playing pissed. Top 10 in from 125, 100 to 150 out if you break those two buckets down,
Yep.
which is sick. I thought his price was really nice. I didn't go with a mid-range guy yet, right? I was gonna go Jordy, and
Mm,
I just don't know what to do with Jordan Spieth quite yet.
yeah.
It feels like and this is gonna sound disrespectful, and I promise I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it feels like I would almost need 90 or 100 to 1 on Jordan Spieth with the way Jordan's playing.
Yep.
Let's take out Jordan Spieth's just take out Jordan Spieth's name,
Yep.
right? And let's just call him golfer A. And let's just go through the last 6 tournaments. This is before the layoff too.
Before wrist surgery as well.
Yes. Before a major layoff, right? The wrist
Yeah.
surgery. It's not something he just went out there and cut a
Yeah.
hand and got stitches.
Yeah.
68th, miscut, 25th, miscut, 26th, 63rd, 41st, missed cut. In all but 2 of those events, lost strokes putting. All but
Mhm.
2 of those events, lost strokes around the green. Only gained on approach in 3 events. In 2 events, only 2 events, he lost more than 8 strokes tee to green, and only 2 of those. Okay, excuse me, it's 3, and only 3 of those 3 of those events, he actually gained strokes to the field.
Yeah.
That's a guy who I think is like a 90 to 1 golfer. We know the
Easy.
pedigree.
Easy.
We know the pedigree, but I just can't get down with it. I had him in there, and I thought long and hard about it. I know his history
Yeah.
here, but we have to remember, like in 2022, he had won. Like I think he had won once. Yeah, in 2022 he won the Heritage.
Mhm.
2021 he had like 3. I know he didn't win. I don't think he won in 2021, but he had like 3 runner-ups in
Yep.
2021. Yeah, of course that guy's gonna. And one of the runner-ups was here. But of course that guy's gonna be playing well at this golf course, right?
Yeah.
Playing with a ton of confidence, playing good golf. I think it's a wait and see here. If people go out there and bet Jordan Spieth and hit
Yeah.
him on the 60 to 70 to 1 range, congrats. But I
Yeah.
am not going to do it. Thoughts?
I would say keep in mind too, right? AT&T ambassador, right? So he's going to be super busy. He's got a
Busy.
lot of stuff going on. He's just coming off wrist surgery. So who knows? And especially if he's not traditionally someone who will keep it in the fairway, right? He's the most creative golfer probably ever. Hands, crazy hands, and he gets up and down from everywhere. But if you're coming off wrist surgery and you're hitting out of the rough, I kind of, someone actually in our Discord messaged me privately and was like, "What do you think about him top 10 at plus 475?" I was like, I don't think that's, I don't think I'd go there either. But the thing is with Jordan Spieth, it's very similar in golf as it is to other sports. If you look at the LA Lakers, right, one of the most bet teams in basketball, they are going to have a plus 6.5 line or -5 line, when if it was another team, the line would be different. The line would be higher, the line would be lower. Reason being is because the sportsbook knows that the publics are going to fire on it no matter what. Look at like a Jordan Spieth, right? He should be at the odds that you'd suggested.
Yeah.
Same goes with a JT. Same goes with a Ricky Fowler. Ricky Fowler, I mean, he's a brand more than he is a really strong golfer. Does he show signs of greatness? Yes. But again, his odds are typically lower than they should be because of that.
Yeah, I like that you said that because I'm going to segue into my favorite that I picked. And dude, I'm a JT fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. I
Okay.
used to love JT until weird story. I was at a working an event and I went up to JT and I was like, roll tide, and he kind of just brushed me off. And I was like, whoa.
So
All right.
I'll remember that forever.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, whoa. I've met a lot of golfers and interviewed a ton of golfers. And that was the weirdest experience. Like he must have had a crap ton on his mind. So, I'm giving him the pass there. But if someone walks up to me and says roll tide,
Yeah.
you know damn well I'm saying roll tide back.
Yeah.
I don't
He
care how
probably
I'm
just lost
feeling.
his polo sponsorship.
Yeah.
He was all mad. He was all
Anyways,
mad.
I was like, I will. So sometimes when I bet golf tournaments, I don't look at the odds before I pick golfers that I
I
like.
like that. I like that.
I don't want to be influenced by the odds. I want to be influenced by golfers until sometimes I have to look at the odds after. JT is the golfer that I liked, right? And this is pre-odds. I was like, looking at I made 3 models this week. JT popped in a couple of them. The only one he didn't pop in, quite frankly, was my complexity model. And what that models out is I need everything to exact buckets, right? Like I need the
Mhm.
proximity to be the exact bucket. I need putting to be the exact bucket, not just putting, overarching putting, but I need to know how are they putting from 5 to 10 feet? How are they putting from 10 to 15? And he didn't model out well there, but he modeled out well everywhere else. He's a guy who is going to get some good boosts here because this is a shorter course. He's gonna get
Yeah.
a guy that's gonna get some good boosts here because he's phenomenal around the greens. And then I went and I looked at his price and I was like, listen, 14 to 1 on Justin Thomas. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And
Yeah.
then I look and I go, Colin Morikawa, California dude,
Yeah.
Long Beach, Cali guy
Yep.
who didn't get a chance to show his stuff last week because of the flu, feeling healthy is the same price. I
Yeah.
went with Colin Morikawa, and Colin's
Like,
going to win soon,
yeah.
right? Again, win
Yeah.
again soon.
Win again.
It's
Yeah.
just bound to happen. In the last, like, what, 3 months, he already has multiple runner-up finishes, been in
Yep.
contention, had shares of the lead, had 54-hole leads. He's a guy who fits this course really well because he's great around the greens. That's actually one aspect of Morikawa's game that stepped up over the years. He wasn't great around the greens. Now, this dude's a gainer, right? Like, even if you
Yeah.
look at the last 5 tournaments, gaining 2 strokes around the green, last 10, same number. And it wasn't like that a year ago, maybe even a year and a half ago. A guy who's consistently worked on his short game, a guy
Yeah.
who's really accurate off the tee, where this should be a big benefit to him. 14 to 1, California kid. I think this is a good number on him. It feels like sometimes Colin Morikawa is Scotty Scheffler proof. And
Mm.
what I mean by that is Morikawa is 14 to 18 all the time, whether Scotty's in the field or whether he's not. There's other
Yeah.
golfers who get odds boost and odds degraded, whether Scotty's in the field or not. So I don't have to worry about that. And I think they can go toe to toe this weekend. He was the biggest bet that I've placed. He was probably going to be the only golfer I bet. I did
Mm.
stretch it out to about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Still at the 7.5x return, but I thought Colin Morikawa, he has good course history here as well too.
Yeah.
This price at 14 to 1, it's a big difference taking a 14 to 1 position on a Morikawa versus a 14 to 1 on Justin Thomas.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think until Thomas wins, he hasn't earned that respect. He hasn't earned that number yet, right? Like, good form for sure. Traditionally very good in tough conditions. So if they are expecting that, right? I always think of the Players
Yeah.
because I smacked him at the Players in that second round. I had him for, I think, low round or whatever. So he'll always be in my heart for that. And that's just the way our minds work.
Yeah,
We
he
always
that,
think
that,
about
that was
that.
his first. That was the first tournament he had when he had Bones on the bag.
Yep.
Yeah, I will never forget that tournament. I literally only bet him because Bones was on the bag at this course, and I
Yeah.
went to Vegas and there was no one playing the tournament. It was COVID, wasn't it? Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
watch it at the Caesars Palace cigar lounge.
Yeah.
They made me, dude, check this out. I couldn't just watch there without buying an appetizer, even though the drinks there are $30 each and I was drinking. So I
Yeah.
bought a freaking $50 shrimp cocktail. Mind you, I can't even eat the tomato sauce. I'm eating the shrimps. There's 3 shrimps for $50. But
Yeah.
he won the tournament, so it made everything worth it.
I mean, there's a few different problems with that story. One, paying for drinks in Vegas, that's a mistake.
Dude,
Yeah.
because no one was showing the tournament. No sports book was showing the tournament that we walked to because it's COVID time. It's a lot,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
lot more dead. And that was the only place I can get to turn it on. So I had to buy the drinks there.
So, question about Colin, and you may know this. Maybe it's in your model. Maybe or you looked into
Yeah.
this. So, you know, he has the inability to hit a draw. Like, he
Yeah.
doesn't hit draws, right? Like, if he has to hit it to a back left, he'll find a way to baby fade that in there and still stick it to 5 feet. But when there's wind, it obviously makes it a little bit harder because his baby fade turns
Yep.
into a power fade or maybe
It's
even a little
gobbled
bit
up.
of a slice. So maybe, I don't know if you took that into consideration, but that would be the only thing that worries me. But we've seen it. I mean, he's won an Open. He can play in the wind. It looks like he's got full control of that driver. But I totally agree. I like him at plus 1400 way more than JT. For
Yeah.
me,
So
go ahead.
um for as I'd say, like, as much as he plays that fade and that
Yeah.
cut shot, he's actually grades out really well in avoiding any of the trouble that goes to the right,
Mm,
right? Like if there's any situation where trouble right, he's actually grades out about middle of the pack, which for a fader is really nice.
yeah, cool. Um, for me, and you know me, I like the big tickets. I like the long shots. I have a good history, good track record of finding that value and smacking that value. For me, for favorites, a lot of times I like to wait. I
Yeah.
don't like to really take them pre-tournament just because it's a 4-day marathon stretch. And very rarely does a guy come out of the gate like a JT or Mullen, Colin, and they're 500 through six. Like if
Yep.
that happens, they're going to drop obviously from 1400 down to probably plus 4 or 500. And if that's the case, you've missed them, and that's you've lost your shot. But most of the times, it's maybe they're 1 over through 3, or they're just even through 5. But if they're hitting good shots, they're just missing putts. That's where I can kind of pick up on that information, and that's where I'm sharing it with my Discord guys. I see a lot of potential in this guy. I think that his odds are going to drop. He's going to make birdie on this par 5 with a short par
Yep.
4 coming up. Let's get him now, right? So I always tend to stay away unless I go all in on one guy who I absolutely love, and then I probably am not doing too much sprinkling on anybody else. So for this week, I'm going to do the same thing, just because there's the stars and there's so many guys in that plus 900 to plus 2000 range. So I'm
Yeah.
going to take another mid-range guy. He is a friend of the community. He won us a bag here last year when I got him before the third round, right at the beginning of the third round, and he shot 60, and I got him at 250 to 1, and that's Wyndham Clark.
In DC.
So, does he have form? No. Does he have great history here? Yes. And would you like to take a guess at who was the number one win player on the PGA Tour last year?
Had to be Windy C because you don't get the name Windy C without being the win
Correct.
player.
Wyndham Clark. So I think that he is going to show up, and even if he shows up and he's terrible, I got to show him the respect for getting us there last year. But
Yeah.
also too at plus 6,500 on some books, or even plus 5,000. I mean, that's a really good number. And I know this, and anybody else who follows golf this closely, this is the number that he always is when he wins. When he gets too much respect and he's lower in the odds, he sucks.
Yep.
But this number of like plus 7,000 to plus 5,000, he tends to always show up and sneak it out. So again, like you said, what we want to do is we want to hedge our bets. We want to have guys come Sunday. So if Wyndham Clark is in there and he's playing well, his odds will drop drastically because he'll get that respect. So if he's around the lead and you have an opportunity to hedge on a Sunday live, that's what we're looking for. But yeah, give me Wyndham Clark at that price. Absolutely.
So I want to give like a couple of things here that with Wyndham Clark, right? First, you said how great of win player he is, right? He's also a really good tough course player.
Yeah.
And he's really good on POA, right? I think when you're modeling out, and this is for anybody who wants to get into modeling. I know I get a ton of questions on how to build models. What do you do?
Yeah.
It's really important to know this. Courses like this, the most misleading stat when it comes to modeling is driving accuracy at a course like this. Wyndham Clark's going to naturally get a negative grade on driving accuracy because he's only a 56% fairway guy.
Yeah.
We have to remember this is a course where driving accuracy is not the same as a driving accuracy at Augusta. Let's even use a better example as a driving accuracy at the Bay Hill, bigger fairways,
Yeah.
bigger fairways, longer holes. The amount of times these guys are going to be hitting wood off the tee or iron off the tee is drastically different. So your dispersion chart, especially if you're a guy like Wyndham Clark, who's a 315 average driving distance guy, your dispersion chart on 315-yard drive is drastically different than a 280-yard wood shot, or even if you scale it down to 250, 260 iron.
Yeah.
So that's when you have to remember that you're going to get a boost on a guy like Wyndham Clark. You should mentally prepare to think he's going to get that boost there in your in your mind over your model, because it's going to be a misleading stat.
Yeah. And I think that's a really great example too, because you and I both do this for the communities that we manage. Is we give matchup plays every
Yep.
day. and we give matchup parlays. And a lot of the times you could be blinded by, and I like to do the same thing that you mentioned, pick guys before looking at the odds. I actually look at the three balls. I look at the players in that three ball before I even look at the odds. Naturally, you're going to pick, a lot of times you end up picking that favorite, but sometimes you surprise yourself when you look at it in first glance before looking at a model or good looking at, the comparison of the odds. And you end up just picking based on, by eye more so the actual odds. But yeah, it's always a course by course basis for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Let's go to our props, and I went with Mr. Eric Cole, top 20.
Okay.
There's a difference. I think I've been saying there's a difference quite a lot in this show, but I think it's important to know that there's a difference when you have a guy who comes in good form, comes in good course history, and they're minus 120. Course history is not going to do you you're not going to just go 4 straight events top 20 unless you're Colin Morikawa. He's the kind of guy who's a course for.
Yeah.
But Eric Cole, good course history at plus 240, a guy who plays these coastal courses very well, a guy who plays the short courses very well. Worth the stab. We're not going to get top 40s, right? He only has to beat 60 guys in this field. I thought that was a pretty good price on Eric Cole.
What's his juice?
Plus 240.
Plus 240. Yeah, listen, like we said, the guy's not going to win.
Not going to win.
But he can absolutely beat, 60 guys.
Yeah.
Question on the book that you use, is it dead heat top 20?
Dead heat top 20, and I can give you the non-dead heat price. So whenever I have a guy who is higher than 250 is really my cutoff.
Yeah.
And they rank higher than 10% in my model. So if this, like, let's say 80-man field, Eric Cole would have to be like 13th or better in my model. I won't mind dead heat, right? Because my model's basically suggesting that they're going to finish 13th place, and gives them a little bit of leeway, right?
Yeah.
The percentage at plus 240.
Yeah.
Let me give you his place price. They just loaded up top 30s. Wow. Eric Cole without dead heat is, oh my God, no way. No way, bro. I'm about to get a better price on him. All right, listen.
This is why I'm here.
That.
This is why I'm here.
Scratch that. I'm playing Eric Cole on MGM at plus 275. No dead heat. Ties pay in full. I'm about to go have this lock in.
So for people who are new to golf betting, and maybe new to that term, how would you explain the difference?
How would I play dead heat?
Yeah.
Okay, so dead heat, and if you're familiar with horses, it's the same thing. Basically, what you're going to do is we're only going to use a 2-man dead heat. It's the easiest way to explain it. Dead heat means these two tied. Mm-hmm. So what they're going to do with your odds is they're going to return half of your stake because you're technically only betting on half of a result. And then they're going to take the odds and pay out half of those odds with half of your stake. That is what a dead heat is. It's basically you're getting I did that math is not even a fourth. It's like 75% of your odds because you're only betting on half the odds at half your stake. Now in golf, it is way worse.
Yes.
Because golf, you can,
it's terrible.
Let's say Eric Cole finishes T20th. You could lose money.
Yep.
Because now it involves how many people are tied. So let's say there's a 5-way tie, right? Now, and you're paying, let's do this. We'll make it T17th because it's going to be a little bit better. Let's make it T17th, 5-way tie at T17. You're still getting the chop odds as if he were T20th, but he's T17th because he's tied with 5 people, which technically is 5 people who are all going to be negated to T22.
Yep.
I mean, to top 22 area.
Exactly.
So it's a good
it's
thing.
Similar, like for a lot of us. So every in our community picks, we also do first round leaders. Right?
Yeah,
we know that. So nothing worse than a guy who comes out and plays the round of his life, and then some random person who you don't have also ties him dead heat, and you're only getting 50%. Hey, 50% is better than nothing, but same thing. Like a couple of weeks ago, we hit first round leader, but there were 6 guys tied at -6 first round. So you also have to, when you're doing your live betting, in some books you can actually bet live for first round leader. You have to be careful with that because you could see a guy that's plus 600 and leading, but then there's 4 guys still on the course and, par 5 to finish, and then they all tie, you actually lose money.
Dude,
So again, just to explain the dead heat, it's in golf, it can get a little bit complicated. It's up to you whether or not you want to go more aggressive, but personally, I just like to go with the no dead heat and just say, hey, I just need my guy to see,
just
a
that guy,
T20 next to his name, and that's it.
I have a good story. This is where people I know in communities they ask, should I hedge? Should I hedge my first round leader?
Yeah.
I had Patrick Cantlay, first round leader, single bullet, like 25-1 first round lead.
Yeah.
A full unit, right? Like 25 units right there. And I go and I hedge a guy minus 150 who is in the first, and he took the lead, overtook him. They end up tying. But with the hedge, I basically made like 2 to 3 units because I hedged half my stake, but
Yep.
then lost that half the stake in the dead heat, and
Yep.
then lost the dead heat on Patrick Cantlay, which brought me down
Yeah.
to 12.5.
Yeah.
Which
Because
was
minus 150, it's almost like minus 250
yeah.
on the original stake. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna give you mine. I like Eric Cole. I can agree with that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do any top 20s or anything like that, but every week this year, I've hit top nationality. I've hit
Okay.
top region.
Dude, you hit Nick Taylor. I ended up
Hit Nick
taking Nick
Taylor.
Taylor live for 2 units. I was like,
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. For top Canadian, they were still hanging some plus 125s out there, plus 120s.
Unreal. Yeah, so hit him, and I've hit it every time. Actually, I just lied. I apologize. I had Aberg last week at top Scandinavian.
Did he not finish top Scandinavian?
He was -9 first day.
Yeah, and
And
then
then got the flu on
Sunday was
the second day, and he finished like +4. Like 3 guys beat him. Anyways, bad beat. He was -1800 after day 1.
bad
live.
beat.
Bad beat. But we're gonna come back strong because I found a value play, and everybody's gonna eat off this. Okay, so there are 3 Irishmen in the field. You have Rory. Obviously, we all know who Rory McIlroy is, and he's at -220, -250. This man has not played this year. He's been in the desert. He's been in warm weather overseas. And here he comes to a course that it's going to be windy. It's going to be rainy. It's not so nice. Has terrible course history. Granted, he hasn't played the actual event. He only played the US Opens, but doesn't have good course history. Sprays it off the tee. Obviously, he's the best driver in the world, so he's going to be going for greens almost. But at only 3 players, -250, no thank you. The other Irishman, Shane Lowry, good win player. I'm not saying he's not. If you want to go on him, I totally understand. However, the third Irishman, who also is traditionally plays well in tough weather, is Seamus Power. And finished top 30 last year. I don't know what it is. It's when Brad has the models. Brad's the model guy. He gets it. I just get this intuition. I get this feeling. I know golf in that sense. At +700 to be top Irishman, and all he needs is to beat 2 players, I'm gonna take that.
You know, it's funny. I actually hate Rory at Pebble.
Yep.
I hate him.
Yep.
Rory, we're going to use this term a lot in overpowering. Rory only wants to overpower golf courses. He has this weird thing where if it's finesse, if it's, laying up, any of that, he has this weird thing where he refuses to do it.
His irons are terrible. His wedges are
wild.
awful.
And there's a reason why his course history here is not great, right? And then like you would think Rory being a guy like from Ireland or wherever from, wants to be a good rain and windy player, but he's not really.
No.
It's because his trajectory is too high. Might screw him over. So I actually like that price. It's really insane.
Yep. Anyways, we'll see what we'll do, and we'll talk about it next week. But with +700 to beat 2 guys, and Seamus Power, he can go low. He can play well. Lowry hasn't looked good, so at that price, I'll take a little stab at that.
This will be the last week where we don't talk about first round leader. I just don't really like the split course first round leader nonsense. This last rotation that we have. Luckily, even though Genesis is going to be played at Torrey, they're only doing 1 course, which is nice. So that said, dude, anybody who is still listening, thank you for tuning in. Smash that like button, subscribe, rate, download, and let's make some money for Chris Mills. I'm Brad Thomas. Thanks for checking out the No BS Golf Show.
Good luck, guys.